Hey guys, so I'm going to tell y'all about a job that I had a couple years ago and how it was just kind of bad but kind of good at the same time. So basically it started off as a summer job. When I applied, I came in like business casual clothing because, you know, I'm here coming in for an interview, and then of course I go in and it's like a whole damn warehouse. Keep in mind, I've never worked in a warehouse in my life. I don't know, I just hate warehouses in general. So I did the interview. Of course, it's like an old white man who owns the company. Then he's like, okay, you know, you can work here, whatever, whatever. And of course, when I was looking around during the interview, I saw like all of these minorities there. They were like Filipinos. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You got a whole bunch of Filipinos working here, and like this white man just owns the company. Interesting. And then after I started working there, I met a couple more people. They were mostly like black kids. There was like we were like a group of 5, and all of them were like 18 or younger. Like they were younger than me at the time. So I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Like how do they have a bunch of like underage kids working here? That's interesting. And then basically like the company as a whole was like a linen company. So it's the type where like the hotels would have their dirty laundry and stuff. They would pilot it into a truck, and then they would dump it onto the big conveyor belt, and we would have to sort those dirty linens from like, you know, fitted sheet, flat sheet, pillowcases. We have to sort it on the conveyor belt, like wearing our gloves, obviously. And then after it does that, there would be people to take it to the washing machine, and then there's like people in charge of the washing machine and dryers. And you know how heavy sheets are when they're wet. So imagine taking stuff out of your normal like washing machine dryer times like 50, because those washing machines were huge. Okay, so we had people doing that. And then after they came out of the dryer, they would be like slightly damp, and we would basically have to like feed it through this giant iron, and then the iron folds it automatically, and then there would be somebody in the back catching the stuff, and then they would put it into like the big bins or whatever to be sent back to the hotels. Okay, so it was like a whole ass company owned by this one guy. Technically the one guy was like the younger one, but he wasn't even like there half the time. Okay, he's like just the owner. And then he had like his dad, like his stepdad, which was like the old man who interviewed me. His stepdad was running the entire place. So I was like, oh, interesting. Like this 70-year-old man is just casually out here with us in 100-degree weather, running back and forth, lifting heavy things. Like, is he gonna be okay? But overall, my time working there was like kind of stressful, because I felt like there was a point where I was carrying the whole place on my back. Like I was that person who knew how to do everything. So it's like to the point where I couldn't even go on vacation. Like I would tell the boss, be like, oh, you know, I need a few days off because my family planned a trip to go to Florida, whatever. And he'd be like, what? You're gonna be leaving for 5 days? What? Like, he made a huge deal about it. He's like, I don't know if that's gonna be possible. And I'm like, well, it has to be possible because my mom already booked the damn flight. And then so he was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? He's like, oh, I guess we can have somebody else fill in your position, blah blah blah. Because I was one of the people who was like feeding the sheets through the iron. I was like one of the fastest people, and I also knew how to work the machine, right? So pretty much it's like a 6-hour shift. We had to stand in the same position all day, whatever. But he would like freak out when I would go on vacation. But when everybody else had to go on vacation, he's like, oh, okay, you can go, because he knows that those people are lazy and they barely do any work, so it wouldn't even matter if they were missing or not. But me, I'd be doing the work of 2 people, right? So I was carrying the place on my back. And then I also did form a good relationship with the Filipinos there. Filipinos love me for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but every time we would have lunch, they would be trying to fatten me up and serving me like fish and rice and telling me to eat food. Every time I brought in a salad to lunch, they'd be like, oh my gosh, like salad, that's all you're eating? And I'm like, bro, is it illegal for skinny people to eat healthy? But yeah, they were cool and friendly. Some of them were, but then they would also be like getting into arguments, and if obviously like they're speaking their language, and like me or like any of the other kids, we could not understand what they were saying, right? So they would just be like probably gossiping about us in their language, and we were like, okay. But I also did make a good friend. She's like my little sister. Haven't seen her in a while though. But anyways, it's like good place. Like I did make some friendships there, also met some weirdos there. And then the other part of the job was like outside of the warehouse where they had like the beach location. That is where like the hotels are or whatever. So in the winter time, I would work at like the beach area. And the beach area, that's where they rented out like surfboards and kayaks, and like they also had like merch down by the beach and stuff like that. So it's like I would be in the little office selling the stuff and blah blah blah. So I don't know, I really hated that part of it because I don't know, I just don't know what I want to do in my life like as a job, because I feel like I hate doing physical labor type stuff. But then when I get into like an office type setting and I gotta like respond to emails and answer phones, that's when I'm like, oh my god, like I'm sitting here bored half the time, but then the other time I'm confused on how to do this office work, because people would come in there like tourists and stuff. They'd be like, oh, I want to plan like a kayaking trip, like we need 2 kayaks and 5 bikes delivered to the house. And I'm like, what? So it was like kind of confusing at first, one because I just didn't know how to work what's it called, like the Apple computers or whatever, because I've always owned the freaking Dell HP shit. Okay, I never had any Apple fancy stuff. I literally just got an iPad. Okay, but so that was another confusing part of it. And then it was like the type of area where there's like a whole bunch of like prissy white people over there too. And then like the teenagers that worked there, they're the type of teenagers who never worked a day in their life. Like their parents paid for everything. Their parents basically forced them to work here or whatever, and like half of them didn't enjoy it, whatever. So that was why I didn't like being there, because it was like I was like the only black person within like a 50 million mile radius. That is also another reason why I don't be going to the beach, because I just don't like being in areas where there's no minorities. It just does not feel safe. Okay. And then there was one time where my car broke down like along, like it was, I think I was like almost to work, but I was taking the back roads that day, and I was like, oh my gosh, because imagine if I had taken the main road, I would have been blocking like that huge intersection if my car broke down. But I had a flat tire, and I was driving by like through the racist neighborhood basically, and I was like, oh no, I can't break down here. So I basically like drove on my flat tire. I think I damaged my rim a little bit, but then I finally made it to work. I was like 20 minutes late because I had to like drive slower, and my boss was like, oh, like you got a flat tire, that's crazy. And he was like actually nice. He helped me change my tire and all that. So overall it was like a decent type job. It was paying more than minimum wage at the time, and I happened to be there for like 3 summers, I think. Paychecks were big. Paychecks were not like $1,000, but paychecks were, it's more than minimum wage, right? So that was probably the best part of it, because it's like you're making all this money and you're only working like 6 hours every day. That was what I liked, because the shifts were 2 to 8, and yeah, that is the whole day. But at the same time, I didn't really care because I didn't have a life back then, so I wasn't really trying to go out like at 8 o'clock. I wasn't really going to bars or anything. And then before that, it's like I wasn't doing anything either, because I would wake up like right before I had to go to work. So that was like a plus, because 6-hour shifts were good, because you know, you work, you get like a 30-minute lunch, and it's like you're done, you know. So overall it was like a decent job. The negatives was mostly like the heat though, because you're doing like this hard labor in like 100-degree weather. We were wearing like t-shirts and shorts every day, and I don't know, it was just a lot, because I was carrying that place on my back. And ever since then I was like, oh, you know, the next job I work at, I'm not gonna carry it on my back. I'm gonna be doing like the bare minimum, so that way they don't expect too much of me. Whole time the next job I got, I was carrying that place on my back too. But this job that I have now, I'm not doing that shit, bro. I've been working too hard. I'm pretty sure I have like arthritis from that job too, because I had to like feed the linens in the machine, and then like there was one time where I had to lift stuff out of the washing machines, and I think I have arthritis because my hands be cramping up now. They be feeling stiff even when I'm braiding my hair. They just be hurting. That is literally why I do not be braiding people's hair. So if you are one of those people who ask me at job, or you're my friend or whatever, and you ask me, oh, please do my hair, no, that is why I do not do people's hair, because my fingers are messed up and I need to keep my fingers safe so I can do my own hair. Okay, I don't care about y'all hair. I'm worried about me. Okay, but yeah, overall that job is like, I don't know, at the time it like sucked because I felt like it kept getting worse and worse every year because like the good people were leaving, and I don't know, you know, that's like how every job is. But overall it was probably like a 7 out of 10 now that I'm like looking back on it, because realistically it's like there was no dress code, making decent money, decent hours, you know, decent people certain days or whatever, made some friends, and then like that's it, because I was there 3 years. But after that I told them, I'm like, yeah, I'm never coming back here. Whole time I was like, I low-key wish I could go back now just for like some extra money, have like 2 jobs at a time or whatever, since it's only a summer job. But after I said that, I'm like, oh, I'm not coming back. I can't come back. Okay, I'm not coming back. Realistically I could just find something better, easier, whatever, that pays more, whatever. But yeah, that was it for this video. Stay tuned for my other job videos, because at this point, am I on like my 5th job now? I think I am. So like expect more of these videos soon, because I don't know, I've been trying to stay at places for like long time. I'll probably stay at my current place for a long time, like a couple years, because I need the benefits, obviously. But like those other jobs, I was like leaving them within like the span of 2 years max. But this job I have now is like decent, you know, it's paying me like a lot with the benefits. So I'm gonna stay here, but expect more of these videos soon, because obviously by the time I'm like 45, I'll probably have 50 jobs at that point, because I just don't know what I'm trying to do career wise. I do not dream of working for the rest of my life and then dying, and I am a creative type person. That's why I also do social media on the side. It's like a hobby. I don't really care if I get paid doing this or not, but it's just extra money. But yeah, I'll keep you updated with the jobs. Bye.